Chop and Brew's Monster Mash mini-series is brought to you with support from Imperial Yeast and all of our ghosts and ghouls over at Patreon. Join them in keeping the show spooky at patreon.com/chopandbrew. Welcome everybody to Monster Mash, Chapter 2, Nosferatu. I'm here with Michael Williams.
That's excellent.
Education guru for Great Lakes Brewing Company, the coffin at which Nosferatu sleeps most of the year.
Yep.
And I have to admit, this is definitely one of my favorite monster-themed beers of the year. And sometimes he's hard to track down. He's an elusive beast.
It is. Hiding in the shadows far too often.
Right. So we're going to talk about ingredients, brewing, just all things, kind of what is a red IPA in the current landscape. But more than anything, tell me an origin story of this vampiric brew.
Oh, I would love to. So this one's got a fun one for us. And if all you out there watching, if you're familiar with like a lot of Great Lakes early beers, they have some cool stories behind them. So believe it or not, this one is named Nosferatu because Nosferatu actually is from Cleveland. That's totally not true.
Oh,
but I heard one of our new tour guides use that joke a month or two ago. And I was like, I'm stealing that and I'm using that everywhere. No, that's certainly not why. He's definitely from, Eastern Europe. So he's from Germany, technically. So there's the movie, right? Silent German film called Nosferatu. There was a take on Bram Stoker's classic Dracula. And Nosferatu, the film came out in 1922. So it got very well known as an early vampire movie. Super scary, it's a silent film with like orchestral music. So it kind of became this cult phenomenon. Let's jump forward 70 years, 1992. And one of our early brewers, his name is Dennis Holland. He was kind of like second in command after our original brewmaster, Thane Johnson. And Thane wrote a lot of our early recipes at Great Lakes, Storm Under Gold, Elliot Ness. He's super German. He's got the lagers down. Dennis comes in and starts brewing a lot of our ales. Beers like Evan Fitzgerald Porter, one of the best porters out there, Burning River Pale Ale. But his pride and joy was this very beer right here, Nosferatu. So he loved the film. And he had this idea. He wanted to brew a beer that was blood red in color. Check. And he wanted to have a bite, right, like that. And so he conceived this rather strong hop-forward red ale and named it in honor of his favorite film, Nosferatu. So apparently after he left, just like many brewers do, they'll hop around, take a lead brewer job, start their own place, and so on. I heard that he tried to brew it at other spots too. And of course, our marketing team is like, dude, you can do that. Just please don't call it Nosferatu, and so on and so forth. But this guy really loved this beer. And that's how it got its name. It's different.
I thought you were going to say, like, in every place he tried to brew it, like the brew house exploded or the cellarman got influenza and couldn't, it was a cursed concept.
That would be way cooler. Hey, that could be it. That could be it too.
Except for that.
It's a full moon in Cleveland. It's a full moon right now. Let's say that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how this beer came to be.
That's early, right? I mean, 92. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's early for this concept. So I wanted to kind of talk about this concept. There's, in 2021, we've got all the IPAs, the English, the West Coast, the East Coast, the hazy, the brute. Like, where is a red IPA kind of fit into your portfolio, but also, like, do you think in most craft beer drinkers' minds right now?
Yeah, so this is something that has been around for a little while, but you really only saw it a lot in Pacific Northwest, which of course, early on, that's where a lot of those hop forward beer styles were originating anyways. But you kind of saw the marriage of like amber ales, of course, one of the touchstone American craft beer styles, and then pale ale, like Sierras, and some brewers in the Pacific Northwest tried to kind of fuse the two. So I think of that Deschutes, Red Chair, right? Northwest Pale Ale.
Yeah. Exactly.
Some of the early examples of that. So we were kind of inspired by that to a certain extent, perhaps with this, but there wasn't a ton this is not a common style here in the Midwest when we came up with it. Now today, like you were just saying, you know, of course, everyone's totally obsessed with everything hop forward, and we all love to try new stuff too. So red IPA is not something that's really, you know, it's not going to take the category by storm or anything like that, but right. It's something that I think can exist as one of those secondary IPA styles, along with like black IPA. Yep. You occasionally see a Belgian one here or there. So yeah, it's a style that's got some antiquity to it, but probably like is seeing a tiny bit of a resurgence right now simply because we love IPAs so much in this country that, you know, let's try this version. So yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, so first off, I mean, this light doesn't do it justice. I'll put up some like cover photos and some video that I'll grab it. I feel like a broken record because we did the 12 beers of Christmas with you last year talking about Christmas ale, and I was talking about how beautiful the color is. This beer under the right light is might be the most beautiful red color I've ever seen in beer. It's crystal clear. It glows. It is blood red.
That's right.
It's like stained glass red and a creepy cathedral red. Like, so tell me a little bit about the recipe, because I assume that's going to get us to the look, the smell, the flavor.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we do in our brew house here for Nosferatu is, in addition to our basic, of course, just pale 2-row blend for fermentables and all that, we're throwing in Crystal 77. So, high-ish grade crystal right there. That's going to give you some of the sticky malt sweetness. A red IPA, part of what distinguishes it from a traditional American IPA is that you do want that crystal or caramel malt character going on, whereas you really want that in the background for a West Coast IPA. So we got the crystal in there for both, of course, the flavor, toffee, and other associated caramel malt flavors. I think that's adding a little bit to the hue, but then we also use special roast, Breeze's special roast in this. And that is kind of like a pretty heavily kilned, more just like, not a caramelized malt, right? It's not stewed or anything, but it's certainly far beyond a base malt. So not quite roasted either. I mean, it's called special roast. It's not quite chocolate or something like that. So it's this kind of in between. Yeah. I think you're getting some of that really beautiful ruby red hue from the special roast.
Really?
What's going on here? Yep.
Can you say about like a percent on that? Because I feel like special roast could also go over the top real quick.
Totally. Yeah. I wouldn't go too heavy on either of the specialties for this. So very broad strokes is something like at most, obviously it's still going to be mostly base malt. And then like maybe I was looking at the brew sheet, 15-ish% in there. Not a ton, a good solid amount, and same amount of crystal or so, the rest being the pale. So yeah, you definitely don't want to go too heavy handed. And I would say, especially considering that this is, in that IPA realm too, I wouldn't go too heavy if you're doing a homebrew version. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go too heavy handed on those specialty malts because you want to keep that drinkability up too.
Yeah. So I was almost thinking like, if I was going to take this as inspiration, but make sure I don't overdo it on the caramelized side, I would like maybe even lean into some like Cara Red, or not Cara Red, Red X, that base malt that is just really red but doesn't actually leave a lot of body. And then
sure.
And then Simcoe and Cascade. I imagine Simcoe wasn't around in '92, so it's kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah, just with all beers, you want to keep ingredients are constantly shifting, right? And even the way Cascades tasted in the early '90s might not be exactly how they taste now. And because if we can, produce a beer that keeps the same general flavor profile and use some newer, fresher ingredients and things like that, there's no reason not to do that. So yeah, it would have been all Cascade. Maybe throwing something else in there a little bit in the early '90s, but Simcoe is kind of like a workhorse hop for us. It's almost like our salt, almost every single IPA that we make has got some Simcoe, and dual purpose, right? So it's great. You get the bittering quality from it in addition to some of the flavors and aromas that you're looking for. So yeah, from Commodore Perry old school, English influence to the new stuff like the hazecraft, hazies and all that, you're probably going to find some Simcoe in there. So we love it. It's a great hop.
So we'll do a quick piece of art share. So like, I wanted to share this piece of art with you because this is an old poster. Is it 2002 Halloween? I went and saw Nosferatu. It was, like you said, to your point, it was in like a historic Sanger Theater in Mobile, and then like a local band was kind of doing an electronic meets orchestral score. So it was kind of like a live score on a silent movie. It was a super fun time. Tell me about what you got hanging over your shoulder, because that is really bad.
That's right. I could not use this setup for our chat here today. So apparently we were gifted this nice piece of fan art right here 2 years ago. It's got a date of 2019 right here. And from what was passed on to me was that it just kind of showed up one day, and we're a pretty well-known brewery. We've got a regional influence. We got fans all over the place, and sometimes that passion just expresses itself in something like this art, a surprise gift, and we're like, that's really cool. So we appreciate whoever sent this in, and we were doing some touch-ups. I'm in our tour space right now, kind of our educational space.
Okay.
And this thing was kind of just like, it was sitting there next to one of our desks, and we're like, oh, that seems like a great place to hang it up. So yeah, it's a little bit more of a minimalist take on the vampire, right? We got we have Sam Hadley's beautiful, detailed artwork with the giant claws, and then you got this guy right here. It's pretty cool. But this is a great example right here of like, kind of like what Nosferatu is for us as a brewery, whereas like, this is one of those beers that just, it almost makes sense because of how passionate Dennis, the brewer who made it, how passionate he was about the beer. It's just one of those beers for us that like, we didn't like sit down at the marketing table and say, look at the spreadsheet and say, we need a red IPA or anything. It was just
in 1992.
In 1992, especially. Yeah. We also were not looking at spreadsheets or anything like that. No. Our people love this beer. Like It's one of those things that comes out in anticipation of Halloween, just like with most seasonals that are distributed, and people are just like clamoring for it all year. Excitement gets to a fever pitch, and then we see all the awesome Untapped comments and stuff like that throughout these 2 months leading up to Halloween. Yeah, so
that's one thing I want to ask. So like here in Minnesota, last 2 years I actually missed out completely because I don't think about it until like October-ish. Sure. And then I make my calls around to the stores, and they're like, dude, that has been gone. And you even say August is the distribution footprint on the website. Yep. So this year I called around 50 at Thomas Liquors, got one case. I got a 4-pack of cans, not to be an ass. Unlike the Christmas ale, which I bought a case of.
Oh, yeah.
But my point is, so do you guys, considering that your Christmas ale, your bread and butter just had its first pour October 18, 19, 20.
Yep, 21. For us talking right now, it's tomorrow. That's the first pour eve. Yep.
Right. So you're like first pour eve.
Of course, yeah.
Everybody's rest up. But that's my point. Like you've got this seasonal beer that kind of like fades before its actual holiday. So do you stockpile some of this both for the brewery and for like accounts that just want to have like epic holiday Halloween like tap takeovers or something?
Yeah, there's definitely a consideration for that. So we actually very consciously, this takes a little bit of tweaking of the production schedule, but we absolutely made sure that, especially the draft, the kegs of Nosferatu, it sounds crazy. It's kind of silly, but sometimes we would put kegs out and like, hey, this expires on October 25th. Yeah. Wait a minute. That's not cool. We have some Conway's Irish Ale going out of code in early March. Okay, wait a minute. So we very specifically made sure that draft was going to stay coded through Halloween because there are so many fun, like our design team's been making posters for like Nosferatu's Revenge tap takeover and stuff like that. So, and then now the other thing is if you're just a fan and you're just buying, cans and stuff to bring home, Doesn't matter if it's late October or if it's early August, you know, they're going to be going out and buying it. So yeah, we definitely had that in mind when we were doing our draft. And then, you know, if you didn't go out and buy, you should have bought the case, Chip. What are you doing, man? You should have bought the whole case.
Well, no, there was only 3 4-packs. By the time I got there were 3 4-packs, and
yeah,
I'm just kind of like that. Like, I consider myself lucky to find it sometimes, and then I want to make sure that, like, well, I don't know, there's another Chip Walton somewhere in St. Paul. Exactly. It's like, damn it, I waited way too late, and so I got one more can for Halloween night.
There we go. I like it.
So that's how we're gonna roll at Chop and Brew HQ. Just tell me. So I've been to Cleveland a few times around Christmas, and freaking Cleveland knows how to do Christmas. Tell me a little bit about, does Cleveland embrace Halloween in very specific ways, or any unique things going on?
You know, we do, like, my neighborhood's got for typical stuff in my neighborhood. I'm in the city. I'm on the west side. There's the trick or treating and stuff like that. You know, people have parties and all that kind of stuff. But I was thinking about this question. I hate to bring it back to Christmas ale stuff. What I think of almost for our Great Lakes Halloween is this event that's happening tomorrow for sport, because people dress up like Christmas trees and Santa and elves and hangovers and all sorts of stuff. So like, almost like that's almost like, in a way, our Halloween, in the sense of all the costumes and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what I thought of, you know, like, yeah, it's
almost kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas. Then it's like a mashup of these 2 holidays. You're like, what is going on?
So this is crazy. There's a Thursday night Browns game tomorrow at home. So think about that. Yeah, it's gonna be a day in Cleveland tomorrow. So that's probably why I was thinking about the hangover thing, because that's where a lot of people are gonna be.
So yeah. Friday's like an unofficial bank holiday of sorts.
You know, if you're taking the day off to start drinking Christmas ale at 11 a.m. on Thursday, you're probably off on Friday too. So it's like the Black Friday but for October instead. Yeah.
I better put my I'm gonna put my call into Fitty then, nice and early, and be like, Christmas ale, let me know when it's coming. How do I get my case?
Yeah, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. This is it's just, the red IPAs are one of my favorite beers, actually. Thankfully, there's a couple of breweries locally that are doing them year round, or kind of like pull them out almost as seasonals. I just like to have a little, I'm not a huge crystal malt fan in general, but it is nice when you get a little bit more of this like rich toffee. I guess that's a better way of putting it than like caramel or burnt bread or anything.
Yeah, you don't want it to be overly sweet. I would say that's the biggest tip out there if anyone wants to do it. And there's I was looking at some clone recipes. If you want, I can shoot the link. We can throw it up there. I saw some that look pretty good, but I would just go, you know, get fermentable wort, keep that dry. It's an IPA, so you got to keep it that way. You want some of that toffee flavor, but you got to keep that drinkability up too. So,
okay. Yeah, we'll definitely link to anything that's co-signed by the brewery. You guys seem to be one of the few breweries that are like, yep, I like this one. It may not be exact, but this will get you there.
Yeah, there's some out there.
A brewery or a recipe that totally leads you to the wrong path. So, all right, Michael, happy Halloween, Merry Christmas.
Hey, I know, it's crazy. All the holidays, Chip.
Happy first pour eve. Good luck, man.
Thanks, man. It's appropriate to do a Nosferatu tasting the night before, because we'll need it. Cheers, man.
All right, everybody, it's Monster Mash Chapter 2. Nosferatu. Oh, wait, hold on. That's what I did wrong last time, though. I'm starting on speaker view, and it fucked me up because, like, it should be on kind of like gallery, and then I'm going to punch us up.
Cool.
All right, I'm glad I noticed that, because, like, I interviewed Jamil for like 5 minutes before I realized, like, oh, people aren't actually seeing his reaction.
Yeah,
to the question.
I saw that you got him too. That's pretty cool.